Yeah, this notion of control is actually it's one of the things I think that leaders face a lot is how do I deal with that? I'm the owner. It all comes back to me. If they're not going to sue you, they're going to sue me, right? And there's a sense of needing to be in control that then gets outstripped. We use it wrong, so to speak.
Yeah.
But it can be really scary to set it down and open up the books or open up to all kinds of things.
Yeah.
And there's and it seems to be, I watch people bounce back and forth. This is why I think this is important. Visionary leaders often want to empower everybody. We're using this word empower, right? And you empower people until something goes wrong or to a point, but underneath there's this controlling thing. And these two things battle back and forth. It can feel like that.
I think most people, when they empower, don't give enough direction.
Right.
Empowering does not mean go do whatever you want.
Right.
It means go do what I want you to do. This is the parameter.
And then how is that not controlling? That's the difference right there.
Yeah. So here's a barrier over here and over here. Controlling would be the barriers are way
stifling.
Right? It's like there is no room for your imagination. There is no room for your flavor. Your barrier is kind of over here and kind of over here, and it's like the bullseye thing that you mentioned. That he mentioned this to me once, where you put a bullseye out in front of you, and the main job of the bullseye being out in front of you is to tell you that you're not shooting that way, right? And so it gives you that's kind of what the empowerment looks like. If you don't give them a bullseye, then they don't know that they're not supposed to shoot that way, that they're supposed to shoot that way, and they're not shooting that way either. It gives them a direction, and I love clear directions. So one of the parts of our leadership is if you have to create an expectation for your person that you're leading. You have to make sure that they have the resources that they need and the skill that is required. Those are the three pieces. And then if you give them the expectation and they're thriving, and you give them the skill and they're thriving and the resources and they're thriving, then you can celebrate them. So we call this ESRC. And if you give the expectation and the skill and the resources and they're failing, then that's when they can get the consequences. And so we use that model. Yeah. And so whenever someone fails in our business, and I'm like, have you told them yet that they're failing?
Right.
No. Then you haven't created the expectation for them. Have you given them the skill in this regard? Have you given them the resources? Has any of this been done? No. Then actually you're the one that gets the consequence.
Right. Right. You didn't do your job.
You didn't do your job.
There's a job here, right?
Because I've given you that expectation.
Right.
Well, and I would make the point that we can't really empower those that we lead if we don't define the expectations.
Yeah.
Empower them into what?
That's
right?
what I mean. But we can use the word "you're empowered." Here's a blank canvas. But in all fairness, like studies have shown, like even little children on playgrounds, like when you remove the fence on the school yard, most of the kids draw close to the center of the playground. They don't feel empowered because there's no defined boundary.
That's right.
There's no parameter set. The minute you give a fence, kids play to all the edges.
That's right.
As far because they feel the sense of it's defined. And I think as leaders, we do that when we define the parameters. We can actually empower and say, go play to all the edges. You know when you're in, you know when you're out.
Yep.
When we don't do it, I think we're more abusive, maybe playing in I don't even know where that spirit comes from.
Well, it's a manipulative process because they're there. The boundaries are there, but you're making them guess.
Right.
That's
right. Exactly right.
It's the silent fence, and then you get to be capricious. You get to be in whatever mood you're in today, and then the new boundary shows up. It's a very low accountability on the leader that does that. They don't want to be held accountable. To actually do it, because it's hard to define the boundaries and the parameters, the restraints in the right place. I think that's actually relatively difficult to do.
I think you're exactly right, because the leader does know where the target is.
They do.
And it usually shows up the minute you're doing it the way I didn't want. Well, I just wasted 6 weeks.
Right.
I
Why
mean,
didn't
think
you?
of like the schizophrenia we put our employees through, or some
Yeah.
people. It's like, we said it's an open checkbook or it's a blank canvas, and all of a sudden, actually go this way. No, actually go this way. It's like, give me a break.
If you wanted me to do that, I would have done that.
Right. There.
And most people are happy to it's
Exactly.
actually harder for people to have a level of freedom, overcome their fear of rejection, overcome their they have tons of fears. And so when you don't give them any direction, you go, "Hey, go build this." And there is no
Blank piece of paper.
They're not going to know what to do with it.
That's
And
not the game.
The amount of not just confidence, but like the courage that it would take for someone to overcome so many fears to get into that world where they can start building something, hoping that you like it.
Yeah, it's
that's
not right.
That's a lot.
Yeah,
That's a lot. You don't pay them enough.
It's a lot of work, yeah. And it requires the visionary leader to grow and continue to grow, because what started as easy to envision when you were maybe in startup mode, now 2 or 3 stages in, you're running into struggles where your people don't know where to run. You're blaming them for things being built wrong. It's because you haven't grown as a visionary leader. Because if we grow, what we do is we learn the process is hard. Like what you're talking about is we got to go into the future and we see a vivid description of it, a preferred future state. We bring it back to the present, and now we have to define goals and break it even down further into weekly and quarterly, and you have to define it in steps, or you're never going to get to that bullseye, even though hitting the bullseye
There's
is
no bullseyes in
possible.
life. Yeah.
But we're moving forward.
Yeah.
Without that, I mean, you're just kind of, what does it say? Without a vision, people perish. They wander around aimlessly. We have to learn how to write the vision down so people can run with it. These are works of the leader.
I think this is one of the hardest parts of leadership, of that visionary leader. And I'm distinguishing now between leader and manager. And I'll use the definition that leaders are the ones that are tasked and responsible for creating organizational objectives, for having that big picture, the visionary thing, and then actually establishing these, we're going over there, right? That sort of notion. And then managers are often tasked with doing the work to get us there, figuring out the details. Okay, given that, what are the implications on my area of responsibility? But the leader, that person that has to be, or group of people that are creating the shape of the organization, putting the boundaries in place, creating the restraints we're going to live within that then cause the creativity to emerge. I think that's one of the hardest parts today. And if you go back in time, think about monarchies. Whatever came out of their mouth just was true. They didn't have to think this stuff through. If I don't like you, then off with your head, and that's just right. That's the moral good. How easy is that as a leadership mode? Today, we don't get to do that. We actually have to create something that then even the leader serves. Because an organizational objective is not the leader's goal, I don't think. I think it's the company-wide goal that then everybody has to pull together to serve, even the leader. It's not the leader's goal. The leader has a goal relative to that. Doing that kind of work, to me, is the new thing in our ecosystems. We're 40, 50, maybe 60 years into a process of learning how to do that. And the key to it is when you get that engine running, intrinsic motivation is the thing that is most likely to emerge. If I work for you and you are just telling me what to do all the time and then either punishing me or rewarding me into it, that's external motivation. And that works, but I'm not bought in. It doesn't necessarily have to align with me. But when you invite me into the vision, when you invite me into the process of understanding what we're doing, then I don't have to anymore. I might want to. Right? Getting those systems right, figuring that out, incredibly difficult, in part because we are often even figuring out what the business is along the way. It is like setting sail in a ship that's half built and then going around at sea looking for more lumber, right?
It's so often they need the why behind
They need the
things.
why.
Like we did something. I had this conviction the other day, not the other day, it was back in August. And I was like, why does my guest get a different experience at 9:55 p.m. than they do at 7:55 p.m.? At 7:55, they get a normal.
Because 10 is closing time?
10 is closing time.
So it's a fascinating question.
And so I started looking at what was happening, and they would tell me, oh, yeah, it's 8 o'clock, we're starting pre-close. Mm-hmm. I'm like, what's pre-close? Oh, we start, cleaning, making this for tomorrow, doing that for tomorrow. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to observe. Can I just be a fly on the wall? And like half my dining room is shut down. Okay. And then our sales are really not that great. And I'm like, okay, sales kind of stink. And that's probably why they think they can pre-close, is because the sales stink. I'm like, okay. I said, went up to one of my ladies. I said, hey, I want my guests at 9:55 to have the same experience as my guests at 7:55. I want them all to have the best experience possible. I was like, but we're not going to get there overnight. So I want you to switch pre-close from 8 to 9:30. But create a plan, roll it out in a couple of weeks. And she's like, okay. So she creates a plan. She rolls it out a couple of weeks later. All of a sudden, our 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock sales go up.
Because you don't look closed.
Because we don't look closed. And so we're doing all this. And now it's been a couple of months. And I'm like, hey, we're now going to 10. No more pre-close till we're closed. It's just going to be called closed.
That's right.
And so one of our managers, he's like, I don't understand. Why are we doing this? We need to pre-close. And this is what my leaders told him. He goes, our goal is to give our guests a world-class hospitality experience.
All the way to 10 o'clock.
Anytime during the day.
I love that.